Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Well, Andy Roman. On stage, June 2022, the Cheng Museum. Now, before we bring to you the actual performance, please allow us to introduce the story and the stage. They are both musical and tactile, specially designed for the blind and low vision community.
As our project pays particular attention to the experience of visitors who are blind or have impaired vision, we have organized a unique performance for the Cheng Museum's historical artifacts that is architectural, tactile, and musical. Yuhani plasma lies in the eyes of the skin. Sight isolates, whereas sound incorporates. Vision is directional, sound is omnidirectional. The sense of sight implies exteriority, whereas sound creates an experience of interiority. Therefore, this project aims to present to the audience some experience that is interior, inclusive, and comprehensive.
To cite the English poet William Blake, to see a world in a grain of sand, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. And we imagine so for our tactile and acoustically designed project to embody historical worlds of the ancient land and the ancient sea, which both are no longer accessible, but we could create a singularity point that pulls our visitors into the geographically and timely distant worlds.
This project starts from the translation of a touch object series including a Roman hair sculpture made between 200 BC to 100 AD, paired with a skeleton of pilot whale from Pacific waters. The artifacts are in exhibition Roman Spectre and Natural Selections at the Cheng Museum, the University of Sydney.
We use 3D scanning photogrammetry to collect data of the historical artifacts and reproduce them into touchable series, translating the visual parameters into tactile and also acoustics. The production can be compared with dressing up actors to get ready for a performance, a musical performance which stories about the well and the Roman.
The story's initial inspiration comes from true stories of two historical characters and the tragedies that happened to their respective societies. Hence, we investigated the whale's migration pattern and Romans' invasive trade pattern. Amongst the whale populations, they communicate with each other by their unique calling, almost like songs, while the Romans developed their population in a republic military structure that order was communicated from voices to ears.
Thenceforward, we've based our stage design surrounding the idea of relocating the existing artifacts as musical actors. In a way, they communicate with each other across language barriers and beyond visuals. We have looked at a variety of architectural precedents to technically inform our proposal. We have simulated the travel patterns of sound particles hitting, bouncing, and dispersing within the space in order to establish better understanding of architectural forms and how they shaped the acoustic experience of a space.
Inspired by the precedents which use dramatic language to translate the experience of waters and their sounds into a theatrical and poetic atmosphere, we designed a set of acoustic elements which narrates the spaces of our proposal in a sequence. We have interpreted the information into tactile maps proposed to be installed at the entrance of the Cheng Museum, and diagrams that showcase sound sources as performance elements installed in the exhibition and how they are directed into different rooms.
To dive into our curated journey of the well and Roman performance, one travels from a dimly lit and silent elevator room from entrance level down to exhibition level. First through a silent chamber, then enters into a circular echoic hall, which is named the Ripple Theatre, in which a headed sculpture from Roman spectrum is displayed in a rippling shadow pond. The water surface reacts to reverberation sound playing from underneath it, and the room is filled with a well-calling sound generated from symphony room, which seduces the audience to explore further. One then follows the music into the Roman karaoke room, in which one could sing their favorite song and the voice would be recorded, rendered, and replayed next to the Roman head sculptures alongside the room. Next to the karaoke booth, a translucent tunnel named underwater that receives calling from the well and extends the calling, exaggerating its echoes. The tunnel leads to the next scene through a black violet curtain.
One then submerges into a dark corridor, a whisper gallery installed with Roman head replicas that whisper in fragmented words. The gallery is finished with absorption panels and overhead diffuser fixtures that soften the sound. The wall facing exterior of the museum is fitted with vibratos, which introduces white noise and tactile variables to space. Finally, a symphony room which displays the skeleton of a 4-meter-long pilot whale and 6 of the Roman head replicas that are touchable. The room plays whale singing song that travels long distances, harmonied with human whispering played from the head replicas. One leaves the room by entering the latter half of the whisper gallery and exit the exhibition.
Illustrated in the sections, the well sings to a transitional chamber that delivers the singing to the Ripple Theater, which receives cameras from the lift and seduces them to explore following the calling. Meanwhile, the song travels through vibratos on the wall to the underwater tunnel, collides with the Roman karaoke booth, and reverberates in the room. Last but not least, allow us to present to you Act 1 from the performance. Enjoy!
Act 1, Scene Setting. Ripple Theatre in the Churchway Museum, Level 1 next to the elevator. The theatre room is furnished with polished concrete wall and white carpeted floor with bold pink edge lines. The sound of a reverberant pond rippling against rock-solid concrete is heard from under the feet of a headless Roman sculpture in tonga robe. The Wura Divinity is singing in the adjoining room. Her evocative and amorous voice long echoes in the theatre. The blind young lady enters.
Did I just hear a woman sing, or was it a baby cry that I heard? Where am I? This place sounds so vast and echoic, and I hear water too. How amazing.
So the blind young lady reads, once upon ancient time, there was a whale family named Delphinity. On a migration trip from Southern Ocean Antarctica through the Indian Ocean to Oceania, the glorious family bore a child named Gawa Delphinity. As the blind young lady reads, she touches illustration of this mystical animal and gradually establishes her understanding of how such an animal exists in comparison to human appearance. After she learns about Gawa Delphinity's past, she grows such empathy in the vicissitudes that happened to Gawa's family and the tragic death of the heroine herself. Hearing the ghostly calling from a distant world, the blind young lady bursts into tears. She burns wanting to meet Gawa Delphinity, to ask for what brings her to this theater and for what makes her songs so lonely. But as the blind young lady almost makes a decision to rush to the next room, she runs into the story of the other leading character, the nameless Roman beard. So she carries on reading. The blind young lady finishes her tour around the circular theater and finds a tactile path leading her to a wooden seat surrounding the ripple pond. At the center of the room, she slowly takes a seat and feels soft murmuring of water right behind her ears. So the blind young lady reaches out to the source of sound and feels a gentle but cooling current waving below her palm.
Oh, how divine, glamour, music, and tragedy combine. My heart aches for the miserable destiny he shares with Gawa Delphinity. Their transient brilliance, if not for their lives both ephemeral. I could hear the Romans sing, or I think just now I gradually started to hear them when I was moving along the circular wall. The footpath was guiding me to another room. I think I should chase after this new song and meet the nameless Roman bearded first. I wish I could speak to him or join his choir.
Act 2, Scene Setting. Karaoke booths are in the choir room. A soft white carpet with pink edges leads from the theatre adjacent to the room. The room is dark at first sight. 2 rows of Roman head sculptures are displayed along the room's left and right sides, with spotlights dedicated to each of them. Then one should realize the room's brightness as it is lit by shimmering reflections of water refracted by a cylindrical glass tunnel. The end of the room, where the tunnel is pointing at, is furnished with a sleek semicircular timber panel, and behind the panel hides a karaoke recording booth. The blind young lady enters, follows the singing Roman head sculptures with the handrail, and moves towards the recording booth. Act 3, Scene Setting. Specimens of marine mammals, crustaceans, and fossils of marine invertebrates bloom in their vibrant colors above a crystal tunnel. Their forms are traced and etched on the tunnel's inner surface, like jellyfishes glowing underwater. Miss Gawura definitely sings from the neighboring room. Her voice passes through a circular opening fitted with thin drum membranes. The membrane vibrates with the whale's song and renders her cadenza into a thread of ornamental vibratos. The sound is contracted to be within the crystal tunnel. The voice is projected with an extended echo. It hits the sleek semicircular timber panel and bounces back and forth. The history student invites the blind young lady into the scene. Act 4, Scene Setting. The gallery is very dark. A white background noise of muffled whisper washes the porous walls of the long and narrow corridor like soft tide erodes into a cliff with years pass by. Acoustic panels in the shape of manta fishes are fixed to the ceiling, forming a cloud of them swimming and glowing with dim spotted light. These fishes eat away any noise that is projected to the ceiling, and the whispering tide is ceased. A couple of vibratos decorates the left-hand side wall facing exterior of the museum, an amphitheater. The vibratos are barely translucent and allow subtle sound into the gallery. These sounds find a row of Roman head sculpture replicas displayed on the other side of the gallery, and the 2 waves of soft noises merge into a whisper whose words are no longer decipherable. The blind young lady and the history student enter. Act 5, Scene Setting. This room is constructed to be a concrete vault which controls echoes reacting to all faces of the room. Theatrical orange lights are given to the Roman head sculpture replicas on columns scattered across the room. A ghostly skeleton of Gawura divinity flies right under the ceiling, glowing in ocean blue. The blind young lady and the history student enter the room through a spiral case-like chamber. The whispers of unknown stories recede first, then a dark-toned choir emerges, but soon the lead is taken by an amorous whale soprano. When the blind young lady and the history student reach the end of the spiral, magnificent symphony music plays.